Hi, I'm Dr. Matt B, and these are your emotional minutes. Welcome back. And I was just walking through town here today and just noticing really how many people are starting to come back into town and go to places like restaurants, movie theaters, and we're just coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic, so it's really exciting to see that. But a lot of people are actually still experiencing anxiety about coming back into society and engaging in routines or social events that they may have done before the pandemic. And a lot of experts are terming this re-entry anxiety. Now, re-entry anxiety can be pretty understandable as there's a lot of uncertainty around a lot of things, whether or not a lot of people are still carrying the virus. A lot of the new mask mandates have been changing kind of constantly in the last couple of weeks, so it really adds a lot of uncertainty. So with re-entry anxiety, or a lot of forms of anxiety, there's a number of things you can do to help sort of cope with that anxiety, to make it so that anxiety doesn't really run your decision making and sort of how you want to try to reintegrate back into life after the pandemic, or just kind of cope with anxiety in general. So the first thing you can do is really just to accept your anxiety. A lot of the uncertainty that comes from this situation is really very understandable. I mean, this is a situation that we've actually never really been in before. And accepting or just allowing yourself to experience that anxiety actually sort of gives yourself a pass and makes it so that you're sort of not struggling or fighting against that anxiety so much, and provides a little relief in that way. Now, the second thing you can do is really to sort of check in with your thoughts. With anxiety will often come a lot of thoughts about bad things that could happen, or what might happen if you catch the virus, for example, or some other kind of thoughts of catastrophe. And really one of the ways to do this is to sort of check your thoughts for accuracy by basically looking at science-based sources to see if some of your thoughts are actually accurate and if some of the things you're worrying about are actually true. So I usually recommend using science-based sources like healthline.com or WebMD, and those are great sources because a lot of the articles in those sites are written by scientists or reviewed by scientists and medical professionals. And the third thing you can do to cope with re-entry anxiety or multiple other forms of anxiety is what we call exposure. Now, a lot of times with anxiety, one of the most effective strategies is to actually do the thing that we're most anxious about. And you can actually do this in a graded or a gradual fashion. So, if you're anxious about maybe seeing friends or family, or going out into public, or going to restaurants or movie theaters or things like that, one of the things that you can do is kind of start slow. Maybe see, for example, a couple friends or a couple family members, and you can even start with a mask on, for example, and then slowly, sort of gradually, sort of open that up more and incorporate more elements of that. So then maybe you're seeing a couple friends at home, and then you're seeing more friends at home, and then you sort of move that into, say sort of a restaurant or a movie theater or a coffee shop or something like that. And for this exercise, you can actually use your mask as a tool, because masks are sort of like seatbelts, where wearing them doesn't inherently harm you, but it might give you some extra protection. So if you're vaccinated, you can start by doing some of these activities, say with your mask on, and then eventually take your mask off as you feel more comfortable with it as time goes on. And so I'm going to go ahead and grab lunch at one of these spots here outside. But hopefully that was helpful today in talking about re-entry anxiety and other forms of anxiety and ways you can cope with those anxieties. And again, I'm Dr. Matt B, and these are your emotional minutes, and we'll see you next time.